Christopher Columbus, born in Genoa in 1451, worked on Portuguese ships from the age of 10, joining the crews of slave expeditions by 1482. He also worked as a clerk for a Genoese merchant, selling Portuguese sugar cultivated by enslaved Africans on the Portuguese colony of Madeira. He dreamt of sailing west to Asia for gold, spices, and silk, so he charted a route. Yes, he knew the earth was round, and sought royal sponsorship from King John II of Portugal 3 times. The king always doubted the accuracy of Columbus's maps, as did King Henry VII of England. Columbus then pitched to Spain. By the end of the 15th century, Spain emerged as a new unified state, with the marriage of Queen Isabella of Castile and King Ferdinand II of Aragon, and the culmination of La Reconquista, the expulsion of Muslims and Jews from the Iberian Peninsula. Like its fellow modern states, England, France, and Portugal, Spain initially sought gold, as it was a more versatile financial tool than land. With the fall of Constantinople to the Turks, if Europe wanted a direct route to Asia, a new sea route was needed. With the approval of the Catholic Church, Portugal maintained a monopoly on Africa. Under its watch, Portuguese nobleman Bartolomeu Dias navigated around Africa's southern tip in 1487. In the economic wake of La Reconquista, Spain needed to remain competitive, so Queen Isabella approved 3 ships for Columbus's use: the Niña, Pinta, and the Santa Maria. She also named Columbus the Admiral of the Ocean Sea, promised him governorship over newfound lands, and 10% of all profits from the endeavor. Further financing flowed from the Medici family. The fact stands that Columbus drew inaccurate maps. His provisions would have lasted him a fourth of the way to Asia. But before he floundered, on October 12, 1492, Columbus struck land, an island in what is now the Bahamas in the Caribbean Sea. He encountered a society of Taino, whom he called Indios because he thought he was in Southeast Asia. Every difference in religion, in law, in government appeared as an absence to Columbus. These were infidels, savages. Their gold earrings, however, more than piqued his interest as he imprisoned a few Taino as a result, demanding they take him to more gold. From there, he sailed to what is now Cuba and Haiti, which he named La Española, Hispaniola, where he witnessed gold flakes in the rivers and where a local chief presented him with a gold mask. Convinced he had found something promising, Columbus constructed the first European military base in the Western Hemisphere, at La Navidad, on Hispaniola, with the wood from the shipwrecked Santa Maria, and left behind 39 crew members to search for and store more gold. At the Spanish court, Columbus delivered an embellished account of his Asian discoveries, claiming there were great mines of gold and other metals. He also spoke of the Indians' alleged naivete, as they too freely shared their possessions. As a result, the Spanish crown outfitted Columbus's second expedition with 1,200 men on 17 ships, as well as seeds for sugarcane. From Caribbean island to Caribbean island, Columbus slave-raided village after village, but as word spread of the Europeans' inclinations, more and more villages emptied. Columbus also discovered La Navidad empty. The Taino had killed the 39 sailors left behind because they moved about the island in gangs, slaving and raping women and children as they searched for gold. In 1494, to settle contested land claims between Portugal and Spain, the Pope sealed the Treaty of Tordesillas, marking a meridian running north and south from a point 270 leagues west of the Cape Verde Islands. Everything discovered to the east belonged to Portugal. Everything to the west belonged to Spain. France and England balked at the Pope's presumptuousness. Was he the god of Genesis? This final piece of the doctrine of discovery made European colonization a coherent and legitimate institution. Back in Hispaniola, expedition after expedition failed to find any gold fields, but Columbus could not show up to Spain empty-handed. In 1495, he imprisoned 1,500 Taino adults and children in pens guarded by dogs, put down a resultant rebellion, selected the best 500 specimens, and shipped them to Spain for sale. 200 of them died on the way. Columbus shocked priests when he denied baptizing the natives. Columbus wrote, "Let us in the name of the Holy Trinity go on sending all the slaves that can be sold." He hoped to eventually send 4,000 Taino slaves to Spain every year. Too many Indians continued to perish after capture, compounding Columbus's desperation to satisfy his investors. To reinvigorate the search for gold, he ordered that all persons over the age of 14 in the Sicao region of Hispaniola deliver a certain amount of gold every 3 months. If they failed, the Spanish cut off their hands. As there were no more than gold flakes in the rivers, this impossible task led many Taino to flee. Many faced subsequent death by dog or musket. The Taino resistance folded to the rapacity and military technology of the Spanish. Mass Taino suicides by cassava plant ensued. Half of the 250,000 natives on Hispaniola died in the 2 years following Columbus's arrival. The Spanish forced those remaining into bondage on mines and large estates later called encomiendas. The mortality rate for an 8-month mine excursion was 1/3. A 1501 decree banned the transport of Spanish-born slaves, as well as Jews, Muslims, and conversos to the New World. Thus, conquistadors began to transport African slaves to their Caribbean possessions. How do we know all of this? Because the violence of Columbus's colonization, like the imprisonment, beating, branding, and rape of children like Catalina de Velasco, disturbed conquistador Bartolomé de las Casas so much that he relinquished his encomienda and slaves and became the first Catholic priest ordained in the New World. He transcribed parts of Columbus's diary before it disappeared and wrote a brief history of the destruction of the Indies, speaking candidly about both the shocking indigenous gender equality he witnessed and the execution of an unquestionable genocide. Who in future generations will believe this? He wrote. Another conquistador, Gonzalo Fernández de Oviedo y Valdés, the official historian of Spain's Caribbean colonies, admitted that he and his brothers in arms inflicted innumerable cruel deaths, as uncountable as the stars. Ned Blackhawk explains, the rapaciousness of Spanish colonialism originated in the centuries-long consolidation of monarchical power in Iberia during La Reconquista. A distinctive masculine culture of violence had taught generations of Iberian men to be experts in the technologies of violence. After 1492, these men increasingly sought their fortunes abroad. On his third Caribbean sojourn, Columbus faced rebellion from his own sailors and soldiers. Those living on Hispaniola failed to find the riches Columbus promised and accused him of gross mismanagement, as he often used mutilation and torture to govern. He turned himself into authorities and returned to Spain in chains. Columbus's fourth voyage was a failure, and he died without realizing he had never been to Asia in the first place. This is perhaps one reason it's not the United States of Columbus. But wait, who is America then?